Hello and welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. Ladies and gentlemen, the other day while in the United States, Rigathi Gashagua decided to take a swipe at the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. He painted a very gloom picture concerning Raila's political career. According to Rigathi Gashagua, Raila was irrelevant, to put it mildly, that there was nothing he was bringing on the table, and that his support for William Ruto was like adding zero to a number. So it added nothing. Ruto is doomed with or without Raila. According to Rigathi, Raila does not control Luyas anymore. He doesn't have the support at Coast anymore. That is Kalonzo's area now. Nairobi is gone. Nobody wants to hear about Raila. And of course, Luos are divided in the middle, not to mention the Kisis who are no longer listening to Raila. That is according to Rigathi Gachagua. And so one of you was asking, what's going on? Why is it that every opportunity Rigathi gets, he speaks very bitterly of Raila Odinga? Could it be a personal grudge between the two, or this is just politics in its raw form? I want to try and answer that in this video. So if that is a topic that interests you, please continue watching. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, every opportunity that Rigathi Gachagua has gotten, he's never missed it to describe Raila Odinga in very unkind terms. I can remember when he was still the deputy president, whereas Raila Odinga was pushing for dialogue so that there could be a talk between him and the president to resolve the demos and the political tension in the country. Rigathi was categorical that the only negotiation they can have with Raila is how he permanently goes home. He was like, the only negotiation, the only talk we can have with Raila is how to send him permanently to retire. And he has said a lot of things. He has said that Raila Odinga is not acceptable to the people of Mount Kenya, no matter what. He has also said that Raila Odinga has betrayed this country by joining William Ruto. That is after he was impeached, by joining William Ruto and betraying the Gen Zs and their sacrifices. Even when Raila Odinga was going to contest the African Union chairmanship, Rigathi and his supporters didn't support this, even though Rigathi didn't come out openly to say he didn't support Raila Odinga, because he was trying to be strategic. If Raila won, he should not be seen as one person who was opposed to him, but also if Raila lost, then by not opposing Raila, he could still now approach him and say, join us, we take Ruto home. And by the way, he did that. He just took advantage of Raila's loss at AUC and offered him to make him president. At that time, he had already endorsed Kalonzo Musyoka and promised that he would make Kalonzo Musyoka president, though they would control the presidency the way he said that the title deed of the presidency will be at Wamunyoro, meaning he will be president, but I'll be calling the shots. When Raila lost AUC, Rigathi forgot the promise he had made and was now all over praising Raila Odinga, praising the Luo people, and saying that Raila Odinga should join them because he was ready. Him and the Mount Kenya were ready to make Raila Odinga president. So Rigathi's relationship with Raila Odinga is as follows. He sees Raila Odinga as an enemy unless he wants to use it to punish a bigger enemy like William Ruto. Another thing, before we go into answering the question, there was a time Rigathi was saying the reason as to why Ruto is still surviving is because of the support of Raila Odinga. In fact, he used very nasty word that Raila Odinga was holding Ruto by some very interesting parts, so that whatever it is that Raila wanted, even if Raila wanted Ruto to lick his boots, Ruto will do that without questions. He was painting Raila Odinga as a force that has saved William Ruto. But here I was in the US with an audience telling them that Raila Odinga had no value at all because he had lost his former bases. Is that true? of course, like I told you, there are two kinds of politics. There is the emotional politics, what you wish to happen, and there is what we call the real politics. The emotional politics at times is called the ideal politics, how things are supposed to happen according to you, how you view things. For instance, you can be like, Luos are not supposed to have followed the Odingas ever since we got independence. But that would be the ideal case. The real case is, the reality on the ground is, they have done that consistently. Okay, so whether somebody tells you that Luos are not with the Odingas this time, they're not going to vote for him, please ignore those jokes, because eventually, when the time comes, they will. The reality on the ground is that Raila Odinga still has serious influence. What Rigathi was saying is what he wishes to happen, is what he prays for, but not the reality on the ground. If you go to Western, the Luos have a lot of sways over the Luyas of Vihiga, the Luyas of Busia, and the Luyas of Kakamega. Most cases, ladies and gentlemen, they will vote the way Luos will vote. So if Luos are still under Raila Odinga and Luos have a serious sway over the Luyas of Vihiga County, Busia, and those of Kakamega, and you have also Wetangula controlling the Bukusus and Trans Nzoia part of it, my friend, Luya is locked. The likes of Natambea are just there the way Wajakoya was there. Even that Kisii, because Matiang'i has not been on the ballot. Remember, Kisii, like I told you, can only support Matiang'i if Matiang'i is on the ballot. I don't think they will overwhelmingly support him if he's a running mate of someone. That majority may, but you can still divide that vote. There's also this factor that Kisiis since 2007 have always voted with Luos, meaning they have voted for Raila. And I don't see a case where they're just going to turn their back against and vote contrary to what Luos are going to be voting for. I could be wrong, but politics is about what happened in the past. And so you also look at the chances of something out of the ordinary happening. And I don't see, unless Matiang'i is on the ballot as the presidential candidate, that I can assure you that majority of Kisiis will rally behind him. Because with Kisiis, they don't care whether they're going to win or not. It's a matter of rallying behind one of our own. That is what they did in 2002, when they overwhelmingly voted for Nyachai, even though they knew Nyachai was not going to win, but he was one of their own, so they voted for him overwhelmingly. I was just telling you that Kisii is not gone the way Rigathi wants you to believe. Luya is still, I can say that without fear of contradiction, is still mainly influenced by Raila Odinga and Wetangula. And of course, Luo is intact, but that is not all. I've told you that as early as 2007, Raila Odinga has won Nairobi. And he has a lot of support in some parts of Northeastern, like Wajir. Raila Odinga has support from Masai. Interestingly, ODM does win a lot of seats in Masai land. And Raila Odinga, as you know, literally controlled the coastal counties. Apart from Taita Taveta, most of the coastal counties do vote the way Raila tells them. Because even in 2002, Coast voted for Mwai Kibaki because Raila told them to. And that is the only time they voted elsewhere. All along, they vote for Raila Odinga. So Raila Odinga, contrary to what Rigathi wants you to believe, still has his base intact. I don't see why that base would leave him. They have not left him before, because even when he made a deal with Uhuru Kenyatta, there are those who said that his base was annoyed, Luos felt betrayed. I remember I shared with you once that Raila Odinga made a post, I think in 2018, April, someday there to commemorate the Easter, to talk about the Easter. And Luos went there. It is the most commented post on Raila's Facebook page. Luos went there and insulted Raila in ways you've never seen. They painted him as a traitor who decided to work with Uhuru, who was butchering their kids, killing them on the street. And Raila was now working for him, and they promised that they were tired with Raila and they were not going to support him no more, that he had lost the Luos, so he was going alone. That is not true. I just laughed. One of my comments was, you are just angry because Raila Odinga has not given you an enemy. Once he gives you an enemy, Baba will be your supreme leader, and that enemy is the person you will take all your anger. And what happened? A few days later, the enemy was William Ruto, and Luos decided to hate Ruto, and Raila Odinga got their support and loyalty as usual. So Luos are still under Raila Odinga. He still has sway in serious sway among Luyas, even Kisii, Masais, and the people of Coast. And I've told you, even part of Northeastern is still very loyal to Raila. So why would Rigathi lie then? Because he also knows this. It's not as if Rigathi does not know this, or he has some intelligence that is telling him whatever he was telling this audience was true. I want to tell you, this is a part of a narrative. And it's a very dangerous narrative, by the way, that Rigathi and these people are running. And thanks to a very biased media, whatever narrative is running is being echoed to thousands of people. The idea here is to make it look like there is no way William Ruto can win elections unless he rigs. That is what is going on here, ladies and gentlemen. Every utterance is measured to drive that narrative. Because when Raila Odinga and William Ruto combined their 2022 votes without the Kikuyus, the Kambas, and the Kisii, they are still at 9 million. The projections of what will happen by 2027, IBC is going to make a projection of adding maybe 3 million votes or 4 million votes. That is how the projection has always worked. There is no day that IBC is projecting that they are going to register 20 million votes, new voters. No. The projection most of the time after they have cleaned the register, remember people die, so the register will be cleaned. You may find that we've lost maybe 2 million or even 3 million people are dead. Then they are projecting that they can add some 3 million. So at most, IBC will be expecting to move from 22 million to maybe 25 million. That is not a big change. And it is not even a projection that in one area will overwhelmingly register more than the other. It has never happened, even if you check the history of IBC new voter registration. It's not like this particular area is always over-registering. There's nothing like that. The increase is usually 7% or 8% or something like that. If we go with the 2022 data and we believe that the increase will be shared equally among all the counties or among the regions, then you can still see that Raila Odinga and William Ruto as a combined force are so far ahead of Kalonzo, Rigathi, Natembeya, Matiang'i, and Akina Eugene. There is no way they even compete. So the reason as to why Rigathi is running narratives and these people in the media and others are running narratives that Raila is useless is not because he believes he's useless. I told you when Raila Odinga lost the AUC vote, immediately that happened, Rigathi was showering him with praises and wanted him to join them. So it's not as if Rigathi is persuaded that Raila has no political value. He knows Raila has a lot of political value. Raila is a political powerhouse. I have not supported him, but I always believe in realistic politics, to the point that even though I differ with Rigathi's brand of politics, I can still look at you and tell you that Rigathi Gashagua is very influential in Mount Kenya. He has serious sway in Mount Kenya. And that is what I'm telling you. Raila Odinga has serious sway. His base has not left him. They are with him. Rigathi knows that. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen, is simple, and I repeat it. They are trying to run a narrative that Ruto cannot win whatsoever the case. Whichever combination he has, whoever is supporting him, William Ruto cannot win. So that when, and I'm using when because arithmetically, William Ruto cannot be defeated by the likes of Rigathi and Kalonzo. So when William Ruto wins, then people will be believing that he rigged that election. That is why he's being discredited. Somebody was even telling me that if William Ruto was to get 1.5 million votes, he will still have to explain where he got those votes. That Kipsigis are not with him, the Kalenjins are tired. He has no support anywhere else. That is a lie, ladies and gentlemen. That is not how politics work. I told you, go the realistic route. And when you go the realistic route in politics, you will always be safe. You won't be hurt. I have never been shocked with any result of presidential election since I became active politically. Even when we went into the elections of 2022, I told my friends, those some of you who perhaps know me, I sat down and I told them, according to the arithmetics, forget what you're being told by the media that a combined force of Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila is undefeated. I told them, so long as Kikuyu and Kalenjin are together, William Ruto is the president. And he won. It shook these people, but that is the reality of politics. So I'm telling you, William Ruto combined with Raila Odinga will win the election of 2027. That is if they stay united, because politics is like I say, it's very unpredictable in this country. Alliances do change like diapers. So you might find Raila going his way, vying or joining the Rigathis of this world. In that case, things are different for William Ruto. But until then, this current combination will win. And Rigathi is fighting it with propaganda to make sure that should it win, people will believe that elections were stolen. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what I wanted to share with you. Anyway, if you found value in this video, let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video and share it with friends. And if you have not subscribed, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel so that we grow together. Otherwise, if you want to know the real reason why Rigathi Gashagua is in the United States, watch this video.